Hey adventurers, so today is going to be a little bit different type of video. It's not really a TBR, but it kind of is, and it's not for a specific time period or anything like that. But these are just I'm titling it and calling it my SPFBO9 TBR, but this is more of just the books that I have interest in reading, that I know I have interest in reading based on what I've heard of them, stuff like that, that are in the self-published fantasy blog off 9. Which is SPFBO9, and they're just books that are entered in this contest and that I have interest in reading for some reason, and I'll talk more about why I have interest in reading each of these. Probably not describe any of them because I don't have this, I didn't get the background, I didn't look too much up about them. But anyways, have a little bit of information on these and we'll just go right through it. I have 5 categories. Books I've already read, books I own physically, books I own on audio, books I own through ebook, and then books that I don't own but want to read or I'm curious about for some reason. Altogether I have 15 books on this list. I wasn't specifically shooting for any number, but that's just kind of what ended up coming out when I sat down and wrote out the list. So I'll start with the books that I have read physically already, and let's see. These are in no particular order because they're just the ones that actually the order is I went onto the Zach Argyle's website for SPFBO9 and just scrolled through the list and wrote them down as they came on the list. If there's an order to them, that's the order. The first one I have is The Legend of Blackjack by A.R. Witham. This is one that I have read already. This is one that I have finished. This is one that I absolutely loved. It's a YA portal fantasy and just is so good. It's just absolutely right up my alley in the way that the story was told and the type of story that it is. Just, I had so much fun with this book. This is one that I've needed to read since it came out and since people started talking about it and everybody was saying, oh, you're gonna love this one. This is exactly like the type of things that you like. And I wanted to read it since then, and I finally, somebody sent this to me. Does it say who sent it to me? I don't know. This was sent to me by Patrick Ryan. I won what is it called that I won? Oh, the Guess the Books contest on the Wizardly Duo Discord channel. I won a couple books from that, and one of them was sent to me by, this one specifically, The Legend of Blackjack, was sent to me by Patrick Ryan. So that's one that I have read already and that I'm absolutely loved. Another one that I have read already is Deathless Beast by Andrew D. Meredith. I actually have already messed up my order because this one I own physically and the other one that I don't, but that's alright. So this is, let's see, this one somebody sent me as well. Does it say who sent me this one? Probably not. I don't remember who sent me this one. But somebody sent me this one as well, and this is a physical book. But I did get the audiobook from Andrew D. Meredith himself. He sent it to me. I reviewed it for him. I read and reviewed the book for him. This was incredible. It's very much a epic fantasy series. Massive, huge. This is Collation Saga is the series. This is volume 1. It actually, I forget exactly how he wrote the books. I've talked to him about it a couple of times. But if I remember correctly, there was 2 books I think that he wrote that he then, 4 books that he'd written in the Collation Saga, but then he compiled them into volume 1 and volume 2, so there's 2 books in each or something like that. I could be completely off with that, but something along those lines. And anyways, Deathless Beast is the first volume. I listened to the audiobook. It's fantastic. Andrew D. Meredith narrates it himself. It does a fantastic job with it. But the story, it's almost like a slice of life epic fantasy series, which is really weird because usually you don't get that type of thing. But it's a bunch of characters journeying across the land and many times just doing things one day at a time, meeting the next challenge that rises up. If there's no challenge that day, that's great. They get a chance to relax, but if it doesn't, then they just face the next challenge as it comes or whatever it is. And it's just the world building. You get so much world building just because the characters are moving through the land, and as they encounter new parts of the land, you learn more about it. There's so much depth to the various cultures. There's several of them that you see. Very faith-based fantasy in many ways. There's one of the major themes of this book and volume 2 is deeper faith and striving to have that deeper faith. It's, I don't know, just a lot about this series that I really, really love. And Andrew D. Meredith has another series, the Needle and Leaf series, which has Thrice and Fourscored, which are already out. And I could very easily see Meredith becoming a favorite author of mine if I continue loving his works like I have. I need to read Needle and Leaf before I make that decision though. And then the last book that I have read already, that was in SPFBO9, is Becoming a Druid by Mike Mullman. This is one that, again, the author sent me the audiobook for this one so I could read and review it for him. And just fantastic audiobook again. But the story, it's Becoming a Druid, it's very much a high fantasy series, very Celtic and British Isles inspired in many ways, but there is obviously druidic culture. And one of the major aspects of the magic system, I can't talk, is animorphing, is being able to transform into another animal. But also you have to understand that animal, and you have to not let that animal's mentality, I guess, the mentality of that species of animal take the better of you and get control of your human mind, because as you transform into another animal, that animal's mind can, if it's strong enough, take over the human mind. And it's just, there's some really cool stuff going on with that. But it's just it was a journey. It was an epic fantasy series. Again, Grommy, the main character, the main druid, is traveling across the continent or the island, I don't know if it's an island or a continent, but he's trying to become a druid. That's the quest. It's also a quest fantasy. But just a lot of great stuff in this book, one that I really, really enjoyed, and I know there's a lot of other people reading it at the moment. By the time you're seeing this, they'll probably most have finished it, but that's alright. Just another great self-published book that I've already read. Alright, now we're on to the ones that I own physically. These are ones that I own physically but haven't read yet, even though I do own them. One of these, actually, by the time you see this, I may have finished it. I guess I can start with that one. But I am currently reading, so although at the time of filming it, I own it physically and haven't read it yet, but by the time you're seeing this, I probably will, and that is Seekers, The Winds of Change by Troy Knowlton. This is another one that is an epic fantasy series. It's actually fairly short. It's only like 340-ish, 340 pages by the numbers. But I'm really enjoying it. I'm only on chapter 5 as of reading that, or I've finished chapter 5. I'm on chapter 6 at the time of filming this. And it's great. It's very simple, and like there's a lot going on. It's not simple in that way, but it is more YA than adult in many ways. But it's just, I'm really enjoying the way that the story is being told, where we get a chapter from one character's perspective, then the next chapter is from a different character's perspective, and things are just happening, and they're happening pretty quickly, and the plot's moving on fairly fast, so it's fast-paced. A lot of cool world building. Just the ideas being presented so far, and I'm not that far into it, so I'm very excited to continue reading this book. The next one that I was sent, that one, Seekers, was sent to me by the author as well. The next one that I was sent by the author is Rada, I don't know, by Tracy M. Joyce. This is Tales of Altakai, a companion series to the Chronicles of Altakai. So this is the first book in the series, in this companion series to the Chronicles of Altakai, and I haven't started reading it yet, but this is one that I will probably try and get to fairly soon. And I don't know, I'm excited for this for sure, because I think that this will be something that I find really interesting. I don't know exactly a ton about it, but the author did reach out to me and presented it to me, and it sounds fun. I mean, I'm happy to read people's books if I can. And sometimes it takes me a while to get to physical copies of books, because I read physically very slowly, and it's usually about 1, maybe 2 books a month that I can get through. And with the amount of traditionally published books that I have to read and the amount of self-published books I have to read, it sometimes takes me a while to get to them. But it is one that is in SPFBO9 and one that I want to get to. And then the last one that I own physically is Nicholas Raven and the Wizard's Web. This is an epic fantasy in 3 volumes. I have all 3 volumes. This is by Thomas J. Prestopnik. And this is one that the author reached out to me, and if I remember correctly, he said that this was inspired a lot by Lord of the Rings, by his love for Lord of the Rings. And obviously, if you're inspired by Lord of the Rings, if your book's inspired by Lord of the Rings, that's a good sell for me, because Lord of the Rings is my favorite series. So this is another one that I have and want to read when I get a chance. I don't know how long it'll take me to get to this one, especially since this is a good, does it reach 600 pages? 598. But then there's also volumes 2 and 3 that I already own. So I do want to get to this one. I don't know when I will, but it sounds interesting to me as well. Then on audio, and at the time of filming this, I haven't actually bought it yet, but I'll be reading it in June. or I mean in July, so it'll be one that I buy whenever I go buy 3 Audible credits to go buy the books that I'm going to purchase with them. And that is Heliotrope by Palmer Pickering. This is one that I have heard quite a bit about on BookTube, especially from Andrew, from Andrew's Wizardly Reads, and from Tori Talks. They're both great booktubers, good friends on BookTube, and they actually were the ones that I asked them what book I should read, and they said you should read Heliotrope because it's exactly like you like and the type of thing that you like, and you'll probably enjoy it. So that's one that I'm going to be reading on audio when I eventually get to it sometime this month. And it's one that I'm excited for. I don't know that much about it other than kind of a old hero has to return to help save the world type thing, and that's a trope that I don't see a lot, but I kind of like the idea of. So don't know a ton about it, but I feel like it'll probably fit my taste pretty closely, and I'll probably really enjoy it, and that will be an audiobook. The other one, or the one that I have on ebook, is Daughter of the Beast by E.C. Greaves. This is one that I don't know. Again, I don't know a ton about. The cover has me intrigued. Specifically, Dom from Dominish Books has mentioned it several times, and it's one that he wants to read, and I think he may have read it already. But again, when I see people talking about books, when they're people that I like, and I like their taste, and I trust their recommendations, I tend to figure that I'll probably enjoy the books that they're wanting to read as well. So this is one that I saw. I don't know how I got it on ebook. Apparently there was some free way to get the ebook at some point, and I got it, but I have it on ebook. So that's one that I will be reading sometime. I'm not the fastest ebook reader is the problem. In fact, I really don't read ebooks that much. I have several. I have a lot, and I think of the 30-ish that I have on ebook, I've read 2 maybe, and they're both short. So I don't really read ebooks that much, but I do want to get to Daughter of the Beast, and I do own it on ebook, so eventually maybe I will, or else maybe I'll get an audiobook for it sometime if there's an audiobook. If not, maybe I will get it physically. I don't know, but I want to read the book. And then on to the ones that I don't own in any way, shape, or form, but I want to read them, or I am curious about them, and I'll tell which one of those it is as I get to them. The first one I have on the list is Curse of the Fallen by H.C. Newell. This is one that is actually, I want to read it and I'm curious about, but probably leaning more towards the curious side. Andrew from Andrew's Wizardly Reads, again, really likes this book, read it, absolutely loved it. But what really drew me to this one is the beautiful cover. It's just a tree that's glowing, and glowing trees, I like glowing trees. Telperion and Laurelin from Lord of the Rings, or from Silmarillion, 2 glowing trees. I like glowing trees. So this magic trees, I like magic. It sounds fun. I don't really know if I will like this series or not, but I'm curious about it, and I kind of want to read it, even if it's just for the pretty cover. So then I have The Last Ranger by J.D.L. Rossell. This is one that I keep hearing people talk about. This isn't one that I have specifically heard a lot from them having already read it, but I hear people keep putting it, like I think Patrick Ryan and I think Jordan from Boiled Jellyfish have both talked about putting this on their list to read. So like, again, I hear booktubers talk about it, makes me more interested about reading it and interested in reading it. So it's one that's on the list, even though I don't know a ton about it. And the next one is, and I guarantee I'm saying this wrong, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce it like I listened to, but it's Liath Luachra by Brian O'Sullivan, and this was one that it looks like it has a lot of Celtic inspirations. I love Celtic stories, I love the Celtic culture, even though it's weird, dark, strange, creepy, but I like Celtic culture and I like learning about it, and so this Irish sounding book is one that I'm interested in reading, even though I really don't know much about it. That's one that I'm curious about. The next one I have that I actually want to read is Phased by Victoria Tekken. I want to read this one because it's written by Tori from Tori Talks, and I think, I don't know how much I'll love this, but I think that I'll enjoy it enough and I want to support Tori. So it's one that I want to read because I want to see what she's writing about, and it's one. I do know that it's 2 siblings that are werewolves trying to like migrate into the US or something like that, and they're stuck in immigration type stuff. And so I don't know how much I care for werewolf stuff, I genuinely don't know if I'll enjoy this book or not. I suspect I probably will to some degree at least, but I want to read it anyways because I want to support. The next one is Seeds of War by, and again I will mispronounce this name because I don't know how to pronounce it, and it's a Brazilian name, and it's Seeds of War by João F. Silva. And what intrigued me about this one is apparently it's got smoke magic, and I don't know how that works, but I'm very intrigued by it. This is one that I'm curious about. The issue that I think I'll have with this is it might be too grimdark, and I'm finding that grimdark really isn't my genre. So it might be a bit too grimdark for me. I'm waiting until people like Tori have finished reading it, and if they like it and if they say I might like it, then I might give it a try. But it's one that I'm curious about for sure, because especially with the smoke magic, I'm very intrigued by that concept. The next one on this list is another one that I'm curious about and actually do want to read a little bit, and that is The Wickwire Watch by Jacqueline Hagan. This is another one that you'll notice most of these I want to read because somebody mentioned them or talked about them, and this is one that both Tori and Andrew from Andrew's Wizardly Reads, Andrew Wiz, I should start calling him Andrew Wizard. They did a thing where they read the first chapter of a whole bunch of self-published books and did their vlog on them and gave their thoughts about what they thought about them. And they both really were hooked by this first chapter of The Wickwire Watch. And so it's one that I am very intrigued about and probably want to read, but if nothing else, I'm at least curious about it, and we'll see later. The next one is The Way of Renegades by Steve D. Wall. This is also the last one. This is one that kind of I don't know a ton about it, but I am intrigued by the cover because it could have anything on the cover, but what's on the cover of the book in the foreground is a lyre. It's an instrument. And I'm very intrigued by that because I want to, first off, stories that heavily involve music, that are music is a major theme in them. They're ones that I really I'm interested in and intrigued by, and as a musician I want to know more about what they mean by this music. So obviously if the main character is a bard of some sort, that interests me, that intrigues me. So that's really the biggest thing that's drawing me towards this book, even though I don't know if I'll like it. I genuinely have no idea what I'll feel about this book, and I haven't heard that much about it other than some people saying they want to read it. It's one that I'm curious about reading because of hearing people talk about it and the fact that it has a bard potentially as lead and has music as potentially a major aspect of the book. So those are the 15 books on my SPFBO TBR. A lot of books, some of the books I've already read, which is great. Some of them I'm currently reading, which is also great. Some of them I already own physically, which is again great. And then some of these are just, if I get a chance to read them, I will absolutely be reading them. So that's lots of good stuff here. Excited to continue through this, and I know this is a little bit late. I know SPFBO9 has been going for a little while now, but I just get to the videos when I get to them, so it's what it is. And these are not specifically books that I have to read by the end of the contest. If I do, that's great. If not, that's fine. I am not the type of person who needs to read a book by a certain time, unless it's something like a buddy read or something like that, but I don't do a ton of those. So anyways, thank you guys for watching an Erudite Adventure. We post videos every Monday and Thursday, and our social media is linked in the description down below. See you guys again soon. Stay well.